you look at the past 2 weeks, how would you assess how your offensive line is playing?
Oh, I think they're doing a good job. I think they gaining confidence, playing physical, finishing at a much higher rate. But I think the main word in there is they're playing with a lot more confidence. And I think they were much maligned, maybe for not as much reason as needed to be, because I think it's a pretty good group. And one thing to consider is probably haven't had our best 5 out there yet in any game this year.
When you say that Andy mentioned that the running backs are helping set up some of those blocks now. How does a running back do that?
So a way a running back does that is he presses the hole, and sets the linebackers. So a lot of these runs today are trying to make the Mike linebacker, make the middle linebacker make him commit, and then we're either going to cram it or bounce it or cut it back. I mean, the running back has to be disciplined to stay on his track. Now, great running backs are going to run. Their sight and vision is going to tell them where to run, but you do have to have some semblance of rules in the run game to help the lineman know where the back's going to be as well.
You say the offensive line has this confidence in the last couple of weeks. I mean, it's this big, tough, physical game with lots of X's and O's, but is it as simple as just a couple of successful drives and it starts clicking up here, or have you changed anything?
No big changes, except I think one of the biggest things that helps the line and the tight ends is when you're able to repeat runs, when you're able to, that's just one thing that, I mean, I was fortunate to be around some great running backs, Fred Taylor, Maurice Jones-Drew, Steven Jackson, and those guys all tell you they need to see the looks more than one time. And I think as coaches, I know I was guilty of this plenty of times. You run a run in the first quarter and you gain 2 yards, and then you don't run that run again the rest of the game. And I think if you've watched us the last 2 weeks, our run game is nothing fancy. We run the same plays, but I think when the guys get to see the same looks more than a couple times in the game, it helps.
How much of last time we talked to you, Dirk, you said that there are guys on the team you didn't even really know. How much have you used the last couple of weeks how much better do you feel like you know the team and the guys over these last couple of weeks?
There's still a lot of guys I don't know. No, there's still lots of guys. These teams are big, man. There's a lot of guys out there. And I see them mostly with helmets on. I mean, obviously I see the offensive guys more, but like I'll see defensive guys on the field and I know them by their number, and then they'll come up to me over there and I have no idea who they are. That just takes a while, and I got to admit I haven't really tried that hard. I mean, I've been busy with other things, so I need to get the little picture ID out and carry it around with me.
Bring back the tape that you guys used first week. How about Ashton Genty though? I mean, he's such a young kid. What's impressed you about him, and what do you know about Ashton?
Well, right from the get-go, when I started coming out in the spring, and Ashton, of course, was right out of high school, you could see it right off the bat. And this guy reminds me of Maurice Jones-Drew. He's got that short in height, compact, stacked up body type, and he doesn't give you much to hit. He's got really good pad level. His yards after contact is real impressive. Got good vision. He's got better speed than you would think he does. Better hands than you would think he does. But he showed it right when he got here, even in the spring, and that's mostly no bad. So he was in practice in the fall. He was breaking off long runs in practice, and then I think just early this season, again, we already talked about those repeat runs. He just wasn't getting very many chances because we were either playing from behind, which is it's hard to keep running the ball when you're behind. And I just think we already knew what George could do, and I think we're just finding out more what Ashton can do. And then our third back, you guys haven't seen him much yet, but he's pretty good too. Fato, the transfer from Utah State, that kid's pretty good now. I think he had 500 and 600 yards for Utah State last year. So we feel good about all those guys.
How much look at Green in the 2 games he started? He was at the coordinator, Fresno last week in San Diego. How would you compare him as a passer in the 2 games? How much better did he get in game 1?
Well, as I said last time, Talon is not anything close to the quarterback right now that he's going to be. Probably say that for a lot of freshmen or redshirt freshmen that are starting. And the only way you get better at that is through experience, through live reps. So, progress is being made. We haven't had to rely on our passing game because we've had a strong running game. There's going to come a time when we are going to need our passing game. We tried to throw it early against Fresno, and we did get off to a good start throwing. Then we kind of hit a little lull. We obviously have to eliminate turnovers. We can't turn it over backed up. We've done that a couple times. But Talon he's gonna be much improved as a passer over time. Just how fast that comes, that's remains to be seen.
Sounds like last week you spent a lot of time with Talon. What were the priorities? What were the results?
Well, the results, we won't measure those till we get to Air Force this week and then games ahead. But just a few things like we just grouped up all of his passes going clear back to the Oregon State game when he had significant time, and these two games. Watched everything by concept, and I just let him talk. Like, what are you seeing here? What do you think about this decision? What do you think about your timing? He's probably real tired of hearing me talk. So I wanted him to be able to talk me through it, what he's seeing, why he's making the decisions he's making, what type of throws. Part of a quarterback's job is to not make plays worse. Like, sometimes it's just a bad play. They're not all perfect, and the defense, those guys are on scholarship too. So it's real hard to know when to cut our losses and move on. A hard lesson to learn. So Talon and Sam are learning that lesson. It was just a good chance. We had a lot of time in the classroom, but then on the field, those 3 bonus days of practice where we could just take certain concepts and work on concepts that we know we're going to carry through, passing concepts that we're going to carry throughout the season. That was beneficial. Now, the payoff doesn't come until game day, so we won't know that.
You mentioned that Ashton reminds you of Maurice Jones-Drew. How much of a rhythm do you feel like you found with George and Ashton? Ashton ended up out carrying, I guess, George in the last game. How much of a rhythm do you found, and is there any past experience that you've had of balancing running backs out that you lean on in a situation like this?
I think Keith Bonaparte has a real good feel for that, and he handles the running back substitution. Like, I really don't get involved in that. Keith handles it. A lot of times a running back coach has been doing it as long as Keith. He just gets a feel, like if George has run it maybe 2 or 3 times in a row, especially if it breaks off a long one, you can sort of tell when those guys are winded. And Keith's got a good feel for that, so he handles that rotation.
Part of the responsibility of playing Air Force offensively is making sure your defense isn't out there on the field all day long. So offensively, you got a little tweak there this week. The way you've been running the ball lately, it certainly helps that situation. What kind of tweaks do you have to give the offense this week to give the defense a spell?
Yeah, when you watch Air Force's games, in their 2 losses, Wyoming and Utah State, those teams were able to do that. Some of those other teams, I think Nevada ran like 40 plays UNLV ran like 43 plays. Nevada, when they played them, I think they ran 35 plays in the game. So you got to stay ahead of the chains, and you can't turn it over. Stay ahead of the chains, and you got to score touchdowns in the red zone. We can't go 4 for 8 with 4 touchdowns and 4 field goals. It's just unbelievable when you watch those films. The team goes out there, they go 3 and out, look at the scoreboard, it's 7-0. They go 3 and out again, it's 14-0. Air Force is built to play with the lead. They do a great job of it. They're unbelievable what their system is. Their defense is not complex, but they've seen it all. They play very hard. They're really good tacklers. They play sideline to sideline. They know their adjustments. So we definitely have our hands full. If you can run the ball and stay ahead of the chains, that certainly plays to our favor. But they know that too, and they're the smartest guys in the world. Oh, by the way.
The receivers haven't created a lot of separation this year. As the play caller, what can you do to improve that, or is it just kind of on them to execute it?
Both. It's on design, and it's on them, and that's one of those things that we worked hard on last week that I mentioned. easy thing to talk about, harder thing to get done, but, you know, we're working on it.
How do you do that? How do you create more separation from the play call?
Well, some of it is route depth, angle of departure, you know, what kind of releases do we take, you know, instead of always just being in a straight line, are we changing up our releases, do we help them with stacks and bunches? There's different ways to do it, but, you know, at the end of the day, if a defense, especially if defense is playing man coverage, it comes down to man on man, and at the break point, the receiver has to separate and the quarterback has to put it on the money. Oh, well, by the way, the O-line has to protect. So, you know, there's a few moving parts there.
Oh, a couple more months you'll have with Kalen. I mean, is there one or two concepts, lessons, skills that you want to impart on him?
Well, I try to give those guys a lot, you know, based on what comes up in practice every day and what's on the tape. So once again, I'm sure they're all sick of hearing me, but you know, I'm coaching those guys hard. I'm coaching those guys hard. They're getting the full ball of wax, and I get on them a lot. But then when we're in the meeting room and we're talking through things, and they're going back over it. I mean, I have high expectations, no matter how much experience we have for those guys, because the team's dependent on them. I mean, you know, the quarterback touches the ball every play, so you know, I'm sure there'll be things that those guys remember when I'm not here. But you know, whoever the new guy that's coaching them, you know, he's gonna have his coaching points as well. But you know, I'm not really thinking about that. I'm thinking about, like, what do we got to do this week to score points against Air Force.
When you were saying when you got here that, you know, obviously you had him as a, you know, years ago you might tweak some things mechanically with Talon and Sam, but on short time, you know, what specifically are you doing to try and, you know, kind of make them better passers?
Yeah, timing. I mean, that's
Timing.
mostly timing. It's mostly footwork, like we talked about the separation. So the quarterback's footwork, his timing, and his release have to be in sync with the route depth and the break point. And when they're not, you know, you got to fix it on one end or the other, or it's not, you know, it's not going to fix itself. So mostly that kind of stuff.
Dirk, how beneficial was it to not have a game week last week? Maybe catch your breath a little bit and coach this kid in these quarterbacks in a bye week scenario. Did that help?
Again, we'll have to see. You know, we'll have to see how that goes. I mean, let's face it, we had momentum. So you know, you got people who would say, keep playing while you have momentum is good. I love bye weeks because, again, you do get to catch your breath. You get to get your guys that were banged up somewhat more healthy. But the only thing that matters is the next game.
In the end, you've been around football a long time. How much of
That I have, Bob. That I have.
I've seen a lot of football too, so how much in the end is a bye week advantage over hasn't?
No way to measure it. I mean, we can spin it however we want. You know, there's no way to measure that exactly.
We talked about the run game a little bit, and you know, equal as impressive is the big runs, or the fact that you guys have really limited negative plays these last couple of games, it seems. I was talking with George a little bit after the game, but how have you guys effectively done that, where he's not almost routinely having to make a guy miss 3 yards in the backfield anymore?
Yeah, I'm gonna go back to the earlier question about the O-line and the tight end. Our tight end, I mean, Riley Smith blocked his tail off last week. I think that there's a lot of credit goes to Nate Potter, Tim Keene, and Keith Bonaparte. They're primarily in the run game, but I go back to those repeat runs, and we're not doing 10,000 different schemes. We just have a handful of schemes that goes clear back. They started this. Coach Avalos and the offensive staff started this last spring. Limited number of schemes, and you're doing them over and over. So, to use Andy's terms, you don't have to reinvent the wheel every week in the running game. And I think it takes time to get there, but you know, we are seeing that pay off in fewer negative runs.
How has the last couple of weeks changed your life in terms of you were golfing and now you're working? You probably walk around at home now with a pencil and paper and writing down notes. I mean, and are you having fun doing it?
I really enjoy being around the players. Obviously, the 2 games have been a lot of fun, minus the first half in San Diego State. The grind part of football is why I wasn't doing it anymore. It is a grind. As I said last time, these guys work their tails off. You know, we got done practicing Thursday. I went to McCall golfing. All these other guys went recruiting for 2 days. it's hard. It's hard. The grind is long, and you know there's reward to it, but my reward for that is in the past. Like, but I have really enjoyed practice and being around the players. When I hit the practice field, I'm just coaching ball, and then the games. You're playing chess with real live guys. That's fun, and it's fun to see these guys have success. I've enjoyed that.
What kind of role will you play in recruiting in terms of, it sounds like you're not gonna travel, but will you look at film every now and then if somebody
No.
asks you, or
No.
nothing?
No, I'm out of recruiting.
Nothing, yeah, you won't even, not evaluation or nothing, huh?
I mean, you know, they ask me to do something, I'll do it, but they haven't been asking me that.
So you're literally coaching Monday through Saturday and something else, 7 days a week, you're coaching?
That's it.
Okay.
Okay, have a great one.